So thank you everybody for being on today. My name is Rob Romanowski. I am the Director of Sales Operations with 3HTI. And joining me today and leading the presentation and a brief demo is Shane Rigger from PTC. Shane is a solutions consultant and applications engineer with the PTC Virtual Center of Excellence. And Shane, I apologize that I was not able to connect with you the other week at LiveWorks in Boston, but it was a fantastic event. So all we want to do today is just simplify, Windchill. If you're familiar with Windchill or have heard of Windchill, it's a PLM solution. It's very robust. It's customizable to your unique processes. That is somewhere down the road for a lot of you. Or if you need a PLM system, we're more than happy to get into the details of how you can have Windchill configured to meet your needs. But today we want to look at Windchill as a PDM system. Very basic, very simple, but still you have a platform that you can grow into as your business grows. And it's something that's also going to be very reliable because there's a lot of, I know from talking to people that have SOLIDWORKS and have used some of the SOLIDWORKS PDM solutions, and because they were third parties, solutions that were purchased from Dassault, they never really worked out the way that they thought they would. And Windchill PDM not only allows you to manage your documents, but there's so much more you can do with it than just using it as a vault. So anyway, with that, Shane, you can have control. If you have any questions, or audience rather, if our audience has any questions, if Shane has questions, we're in trouble. But if you guys have any questions, just put those in the Q&A box. We'll try to answer them as we go along, but definitely at the end. So Shane, take it away.
All right, perfect. So like Rob was saying, with Windchill PDM, the whole idea here is that with Windchill PLM, at its core, it is a PDM system. So that's what we're wanting to cover, is understanding how you're managing all of that data, whether it's CAD or documents, in one system, and of course having out-of-the-box workflows to help streamline any processes you may have. And we always like to start off with talking about challenges that we see out in industry. So from speaking to so many different companies in the industry, there's similar challenges in managing their data through more informal methods like shared folders or drives or FTPs. And it starts with a lack of revision control. So this usually means or involves using naming schemes, and that generally results in a loss of previous design files. You also need to be able to manually track document and CAD interdependencies, which makes it very difficult to determine what all will be affected by any changes to a file or a CAD file. And basic security can become a huge concern, where it's all or nothing access to the files, and it's very difficult to filter for different users. And ultimately, it's very difficult to share data and problems, which leads to duplication of parts and a lack of visibility into data from everyone involved in that process. And PTC's solution to these challenges is with Windchill PDM. So this is where it's allowing you to securely manage any CAD files, mechanical BOMs, associated documents all in one place. And then you can easily search for products or parts using Windchill's searching capabilities, like a wildcard search and the browsing menu, which I'll show in the demonstration. And you can also enforce simple release change processes and have the ability to be able to standardize and automate them to limit any possible errors. And you'll enhance collaboration with all of your data being managed in one system and accessible to all of the users who need to have that access. And capabilities you get with Windchill PDM in terms of securely managing MCAD files starts with the ability to manage data from multiple CAD applications. So obviously you have Creo and then SolidWorks, AutoCAD, to name a few of the more common ones. And you can quickly find the latest version of all of this data, as well as the entire history of it throughout its life cycle and all of the changes that have occurred on that object. And you can control access to your IP from a product level to a department level down to any roles of a specific user as well. And then you can, of course, manage CAD files behind the scenes with Windchill's integrated tab into different tools that you're already using. Could be another CAD tool or even Microsoft Office. And capabilities in regard to securely managing mechanical BOMs and associated documents. You can have a structured mechanical BOM and parts list right within when within the CAD tool that is based off of that Windchill structure that you have. And using Windchill's desktop integration, you can access all of your Windchill documents right through the Windows Explorer. And that's really great for infrequent Windchill users. It makes it a lot easier to implement into a new system. And you can export your mechanical BOM to different file formats and work on that export in those tools like Microsoft Office programs. And Windchill makes searching for your data very easy and efficient. It starts with being able to search user search tools, and they're always going to be immediately accessible no matter where you're at within Windchill. And then to get a visual understanding of the parts and assemblies you're looking at, Windchill uses visualizations that are going to be lightweight representations of your designs and are pervasive throughout the system. And really that allows you to visually identify every little component, which is really highlighted by the cross-referencing capabilities between your BOM and your visualizations. And you're also getting the ability to enforce a simple release and change process. So this is where you'll coordinate all applicable users in design reviews and promotion processes right from within Windchill. And that helps to standardize and automate your workflow processes and avoid unnecessary errors and any hiccups that you would generally have. And you can enforce, of course, naming conventions, versioning schemes, design processes, and that helps to standardize, again, those processes moving forward. And then lastly, Windchill will enhance collaboration. So it starts off with the lightweight graphical images, which are stored CAD data using the visualizations from Creo View. So any downstream users who aren't working with CAD can still see the digital model and get insight into the designs. And then using that same Creo View tool, you can also make markups, comments, add measurements, do a design review, all on that lightweight representation of the model. And then another way to share that data to everybody who needs it and may not be working within Windchill is to generate viewables in different formats. So it could be PDF, CSV, IGIS, even drawings. Okay, so now we'll be hopping into the demonstration. So throughout the demonstration, the whole idea here is to understand, okay, you have your data. Now, how is that actually going to be managed? How do you organize the information? How do you give accesses to the information for the correct roles and users that you have? And how do you actually go through those different systems you may have, like I was mentioning, your CAD or just the normal Windows File Explorer, and have integrations for Windchill with those. So that's what we'll understand throughout the demo here. Starting off, we're just within the Windchill home screen for a user, and we want to understand within a product, how are the teams actually organized? So how are those different roles for this product organized, right? So here within this product that we're working on, you can see that there's different roles within here and then those different users down between those. And this is really where that configuration starts off and how you give access to information. So for example, if you only wanted guest to have limited access, you would give any new user that you only want to have that limited access, that guest role. And then of course, if you have your managers and you want to give them more privileges throughout, you can assign it to that role. And it makes it very easy to add new users and make those types of configurations. And then whenever it comes to the product folders themselves, they're very straightforward. So this is where all of that product data would live. It's very straightforward, similar to a Windows File Explorer where you have your folders within folders, and then of course your objects down between those. And you can also get really granular in that configuration as well. So if you only wanted specific users to have access to the CAD data folder, for example, you can set up those type of configurations. And again, it makes it very easy to do so. And then let's say, for example, you wanted to come in and edit that access control. This is actually what that would look like. So again, very straightforward. You have your roles on the left-hand side, permissions going down the center here, and then you could come in and quickly make the adjustments as necessary. And then you also have your searching and filtering. So with searching, it's very straightforward within Windchill, but very powerful. So let's say, for example, you wanted to search for a CAD document. So you're going to use that faceted search and then also that wildcard search. So here you're saying, I know that somewhere in the title for the document I'm searching for, it has a 297. I don't know what it begins with. I don't know what it ends with. So what you're doing is you're performing a wildcard search where you're bringing in asterisks. So in the very beginning and end, we add an asterisk in, and then it's going to perform a wildcard search on that and then find any related information to that. And then, of course, once you do find your objects, you may have hundreds, if not thousands, of search results, depending on your search. You can use your refined results on the left-hand side or the faceted searching. And then also right within the table, you could come in and quickly search for whatever additional information to that as well. And then again, you may have tens, if not hundreds of components or parts or assemblies documents populate here. So there's also another tool called the thumbnail navigator. So this is really beneficial whenever you're trying to quickly find the part to make sure you're on the correct part. So here you can see that you have that visualization, you can change your orientation, really dissect that part that you're looking for, and then also understand where this part's being used or the uses for it. So if you had an overall product, you would see under the uses all of the different parts tied in there. So here for this part, we would have where used. So you can start to really branch off and understand, okay, with this part that I'm searching for, this is actually the product that it's being used on. So if you make any changes to that part, you know exactly what else is going to be affected. And then working within the part, within that visualization, you of course have your BOM on the left-hand side. So your overall assembly, the parts down below those, of course, and then you have your visualization here on the right-hand side. So a very powerful tool is the cross-highlighting functionality. So as you select on different parts on the tree on the left-hand side, that visualization is automatically going to update as well to show you that part that you have selected, and then vice versa. So if you select on the visualization, you're going to have an updated part being viewed on that tree on the left-hand side. And then, of course, all of the version and naming conventions that you would have tied to that part is easily viewable within the structure here. And then whenever it comes to exporting this off, right? So you not only want to be able to store your data, but then be able to generate reports or export the information off. There's a lot of exporting tools. So if you had CSV, Excel file, PDF, you can quickly come to here and then export that information off. So let's say you wanted an Excel file report, you can simply generate that off, and then it would instantly be populated within Excel. So it makes it very easy to store all this information within Windchill, and then of course, being able to export or report or generate reports off from the BOM. And then in terms of collaboration, so I had mentioned earlier CreoView, and that's a big collaboration tool, and also being able to include those non-engineers that generally don't have access to a CAD license, or they would have to go to an engineer to get information such as this. They can utilize CreoView, and this also ties into markups on drawings. So it's not only limited to your assemblies or your parts, but if you have drawings or PDF documentations that you needed to create markups for, this is that all-in-one tool for that as well. And then also, you're not having to worry about someone making a markup or a change to the actual part or object itself. So this is only going to take effect on that lightweight representation. So let's say, for example, somebody was working within Windchill, they wanted to understand this part better, get a better understanding into it. Of course, using CreoView, you can come in and, for example, use sectioning off to really understand and analyze and interrogate the model as much as you're going to have to. And then whenever it comes to the markups, like I'd mentioned, this is allowing those generally non-CAD users to have access to the CAD information. So this is going to be the same exact dimensioning to the actual geometries themselves. So for example, somebody wanted to come in, get a quick summary of the part, they can add that in. Let's say you wanted to get a diameter for a part, right? So generally someone would have to go to an engineer to have this type of access. You can open this model, come to your markup tools, select on that object or that part that you're looking to get the measurement from, and then quickly having access to it. So that's the goal here, is to be able to have quick access to these geometries and be able to leave the markups and save that back later on into that part on Windchill. And again, that's tying in collaboration and other users to have this sort of information. And then lastly, let's say you on the model, you wanted to go through a change request. So actually making a change to the object. Here, you're just leaving off a note saying, hey, please change the radius to 2 millimeters, switching from that 3.175. And then an engineer later on, which we'll see, is an engineer can then come in and have that information all being tied into that one system. So you're not going back and forth trying to find the correct document, understanding how that change actually needs to be implemented. And then once you're done making any annotations, like I said, not only on your CAD, but if you had your drawings or PDFs, then you're just simply saving that off, and then that would be tied to that object within Windchill. So now moving into the Windows File Explorer, so how we actually manage that information. There's an integration, so a desktop integration for Windows File Explorer. And you can see here directly from the File Explorer how you can break down between that different context like you saw within Windchill. So somebody that necessarily doesn't always want to have to go into Windchill to access the documents or bring their own documents in, they can do that directly from the desktop integration here. So let's say, for example, within the supporting documents, you wanted to bring in a new design change list from your desktop. You're simply dragging and dropping it over, and then there's a new desktop integration widget that would appear to allow you to go through the correct processes. So if you always require somebody to leave a comment off or description, if there's a workflow assigned to this for any review process, that all gets tied into the process because you're now allowing people to enter this within Windchill directly from that desktop. And then let's say, for example, somebody wanted to come in and make a change to a document. Again, without actually having to go into Windchill, you're just simply selecting on that document that you want to work on. And of course, you have all of that version in the current state that it's in to make sure that you're on the most up-to-date version. So let's say, again, you wanted to come in and make that change, simply opening that up. And then instantly you can see Windchill is doing its job, right? It's telling this user, hey, this is going to be checked out for you so that nobody else can go into that document and make a change while you're working on it. And that really eliminates overwriting work. And that also falls in line with any of the CAD documents or parts or assemblies that you're working on as well. So checking those out, checking those back in within Windchill really eliminates any of that confusion. So for those users that are using Microsoft Word and using the desktop integration, you can see that Windchill tab right at the top. So it makes it very easy for users to come in, make any changes to any documentation that they're working on, and have all of those PDM actions automatically tied into this one application. So it makes for very quick and easy changes to the process. And also with that desktop integration wizard that pops up, make sure that they're following the correct processes in order to get this uploaded correctly. So you can see we just made our change, came in, checked that part back in, and then that's automatically going to update with the new version in this case, because there was no workflow for this. It's just automatically going to get updated to that newest version. Now switching more into an engineering role, right? So generally you would have the documentation or your files being saved off within a disparate location. Like I said, maybe a OneDrive or a Google Drive, whatever that would be. And then those engineers would have to go into there, pull that information in, and they would have to keep going back and forth between those systems to be able to get this information. With the integration for other CAD systems, including Creo, of course, they're going to be able to make the changes necessary without ever having to leave the environment they're in. So for example, you're working on a part, an overall assembly, you're starting to dissect that part and understand what change actually needs to occur. So that's what we're doing here. Opening up that part like we were working with in Windchill, and from here, you can view those properties. So you can see directly within Creo Parametric, you have that desktop integration, and within the Creo Parametric integration, this allows that engineer to never leave the environment and have access to all that Windchill information directly from that embedded browser. So from here, you can see that the engineer can come in to the representations and then see what change actually needs to occur from, again, maybe a non-CAD engineer or a non-CAD user that had came in and made these type of annotations or markups to that assembly. And then once your engineer understands what changes need to be made, they can start to go through that process. So again, directly within Creo Parametric, never leaving the environment, being able to check the part off, and then start to make the necessary changes to the model according to what Windchill information they had. So that's all we're doing here, going through, making our change. And then we can complete that step off. And then we have our updated diameter or radius, whatever change that would be to your model. And then again, without ever having to leave the environment, you can automatically check this part back in, and then it would go through the correct processes. Like I mentioned, if you have any reviews or approvals that this would need to go through, you could have a workflow set up in Windchill, so it would automatically get assigned to the correct users. And then in terms of working with disparate data, so generally you would have, if let's say you have SolidWorks data and you're also working within a Creo environment, this is more so to show how that SolidWorks integration would work. So if you're working with an overall assembly, again, you're gonna have that PTC Windchill tab right at the top, allowing you to make any of those PDM actions that you would need, check out the part, check the part back in, make your changes, all without actually having to leave the environment. So it's really powerful for those engineers to be able to come in, understanding what changes need to happen, and then being able to stay within that environment. And it really helps whenever you're getting started within the new software, not even just Windchill, but having integrations like this to get them up and running a lot faster. Okay, so now that we work with Creo, Parametric, and SolidWorks, let's say that you're working with both, right? So your Creo engineers has to bring in a SolidWorks assembly to then tie into this assembly that we've been working on. Simply just opening up that part, and then we can start to tie in those two different assemblies within the same process. And then of course have that tied off into Windchill as well. So here, what we're doing is just lining up the two assemblies that we have and making sure that they're lined up correctly, going through the necessary changes on whatever assembly you would have. And the idea here is to understand, okay, no matter what CAD data you're working with, you're going to be able to bring it into the one system so that you have easily, you can easily read and view and make the changes and have that integration for Windchill. So what we'll do is just go through the model, make sure that everything is aligned correctly. Again, just making the necessary changes, making sure that our spacing instances are up to date. And then once you make all of those necessary changes, then being able to, of course, save this part back off, check it back in if necessary, and then being able to go back in the Windchill and know that you're on the most up-to-date version of that part. So here, whenever we open up Windchill, you can see in the top left, it says it's highlighted in red, it says go to latest. That's so anybody that is open in Windchill and is viewing a part, they know that they're not on the most up-to-date version. So it makes it very simple for somebody to come in, click that button, and then they know they have the most up-to-date version on what they're working on. So now that you've made the necessary changes, let's say that you wanted to go through a new promotion request. So actually move this from an in work to a release state. Again, keeping it within the one system rather than having to go to a disparate system to be able to do so, and having all of this information tied into this new promotion request. If you were going through a change request, making sure that you have any of that CAD information, or not even just CAD information, but having all of your documentation in the one system to go through these types of changes. And then, of course, being able to assign the appropriate users or roles to be at the approvers or reviewers within that workflow that you have set up. So it's really tying everybody into the one process to make sure that everybody has visibility and knows exactly what needs to be changed. And then to wrap up, once you've gone through that promotion request, like I mentioned, you have your workflow set up so people automatically get assigned tasks. This is signed in as another user. So now Mark, in this case, he's going to be able to come in within his task on his home screen, instantly see that he has a new task that he needs to be able to go through. So he can open that up, see which objects need to be reviewed or go through this promotion request, and then instantly be able to go right into there, leave off any comments saying, yep, it's going through the approval, it's all good. Or if it needs to go through any rework or rejected work, of course, you have your routing options down there in the bottom left-hand side to be able to have different ways to go through that workflow. And then once completed, of course, being able to go back to whatever part or assembly promotion request you would want to see, and then you can see that's automatically being updated as now released, that it's gone through the correct reviews. And before we wrap up, I want to talk about how this can really bring benefit to any company. Of course, firstly, being able to securely manage all of your files and product information. You're no longer having to worry about people overwriting each other's work, working with outdated data or information. Now it's in a safe and secure environment with all of your information being stored there. And of course, because of PTC's production-proof PLM software, so it's essentially a scaled back version of that. And that provides you product data management rather than the entire lifecycle management process. And like Rob was saying, it really sets you up and gives you a really great foundation for being able to get to that point. So starting you off within PDM and then being able to branch off into a more PLM and a full-grown system. Okay, so that's all I had to cover. Thank you. And Rob, I can pass it back.
Shane, great job. Great job as always. So, things that we've experienced with our customers, have ranged from. Why don't you keep your screen, share your screen still, because it's kind of more pleasant. What some of the things we've seen with our customers were issues in manufacturing where the wrong part gets manufactured. Also, a lot of time in the design or engineering department with recreating a part or not being able to locate a part. All these things can slow down your manufacturing process, your whole new product introduction process, and Windchill should not be intimidating, and we don't want it to be intimidating. With our customers, some of the more sophisticated ones, we lay out a plan that is longer term, so you're not eating the elephant all at once. It's one small bite at a time. With PDM, it's a great way to get started with a very reliable and robust PDM system to make you more efficient. So we're very experienced at this. A question that just popped up is, does Windchill integrate with ERP systems? And the answer is yes, absolutely it does. Next question is Windchill Part 11 compliance? I'm going to guess that means like CFR Part 11 for a process for med devices. Yes, Windchill absolutely is. We've actually set this up for a customer of ours, or actually multiple customers of ours who are making Series 3 medical devices that have to, report everything should report everything to the FDA in case there's an audit. And one of our customers got audited, and when they did, they called us up and were kind of excited and wanted help, and we're like, well, you don't really need help, you're all set. Everything's been set up in Windchill. It's compliant with what the FDA standards are. We have that all set up, and it was just really a smooth and easy process. So very, very good questions. Basically, this Windchill system can be as sophisticated as you need it to, or it can be as simple as you need it to be. And the point is that there's a return on the investment, because you're going to increase efficiencies in getting your products to market faster, and reducing problems that start and originate within design and engineering also. When you overcome those problems, then everything else moves smoother down the line, and there's less rework and everything else that some of you may have experienced. So Shane, I want to thank you for a great presentation today. I appreciate it, appreciate the questions, and that is going to conclude our webinar. I will have this uploaded onto YouTube today, tomorrow at the latest. I will send everybody a recording so you can watch at your leisure. And if you have any questions or want any more detail regarding Windchill, you can reply to the invitational email that was sent to you from me. Those emails come directly back to me, or you can give me a call at 610-590-1089 is my direct work line. Next question is, can you use this for supply chain? Yes. We actually have a webinar for how Windchill works with supply chain, and I will be certain to send you a link to that webinar recording. We have another one that we're going to be running within the next couple of months, Windchill and supply chain. But I'll send you the recording so that you can have it sooner. So once again, thank you everybody for being on. Thank you, Shane, and have a great week, everyone. Take care.